Welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'm going to be doing the A to Z book tag, and I thought I would do this book tag because I thought it would be a great way to kind of introduce myself, share a bit about my reading tastes, and I thought I'd just run through the questions with you. So this tag I have written down here, it was created by the Perpetual Page Turner, which is a blog. I'm not sure if they're still posting, but I will leave a link to their original tag down below, and if you want to obviously do this tag, or if you have done this tag, please let me know because I'd love to check out your video. I will leave the list of kind of prompts in the description box as well, so you can also take part in this if you wish to. So I've got my questions and answers written down here, so I'm just going to run through these, and yeah, we'll dive straight into it. So the obviously basic premise of this tag is you go through the alphabet A to Z, and each letter corresponds to a prompt, and you kind of obviously answer the prompt. So we're just going to dive straight in. So the first question or prompt is author you've read the most books from, and for me that is Robin Carr. She is an author that I very much started my romance journey on, and as I've said, I think I am going to do a video about my reading journey, but Robin Carr is an author that I've read the most from. I've read the entirety of the Virgin River series, the Grace Valley trilogy, and the Thunder Point series, and I've read quite a few of her standalones as well. I think the only series I've not completed from her is Sullivan's Crossing, although I have read, I think, the first couple of books, or at least the first one in that series, and I do definitely want to continue on. So Robin Carr kind of writes a mixture of things. So she has written some small town romances, like the Virgin River series, which I have this really pretty cover. I love this edition. And the Grace Valley trilogy and the Thunder Point series are all kind of small town romances. And then she has written some standalone books that I would say are more women's fiction rather than necessarily romances, although a lot of them do have like a romantic subplot, but they aren't necessarily straight up romances, whereas I think this series does kind of fall into the romance category. I really enjoy her writing. I would say I definitely prefer her series. Some of her standalones can be a bit hit or miss for me. I think she has also written some historical romances as well, although I've not read any of those. So I would definitely recommend checking out her books. I really like her audiobooks. They are narrated by Therese Plummer, and I really like her audio narration. So Robin Carr is my most read author. Then we have Best Sequel, and for me I would have to go with Reckless by Lauren Roberts. So this one is one that I have read very, very recently, and I really enjoyed this as a sequel. The first book, Powerless, I gave 4 stars to, and then Reckless I gave 5 stars to. I really enjoyed this one. It is a fantasy romance series, it's a young adult series, and in this world there are people who are powerless and they don't have any powers, and they are kind of sought out by the king and his guards to kind of eradicate them. And in this first book we see them taking Payden, who is our main character. She takes part in these trials, and it obviously gets discovered that she is powerless, because although she tries to mask that, it does get revealed. And I won't go too much about what Reckless is about because it is a sequel, but I highly recommend this series, and I'm really excited for the third book, which you will see as an answer to a later question as a spoiler. Next we have Currently Reading, and I am currently reading Return to Us by Corinne Michaels. This one is a small town single dad second chance romance, and so far I'm really enjoying it. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a 5-star read, but I am definitely liking it, and I think it will possibly be a 4-star, and I do definitely want to read more from this author. I'm liking it enough to know that I do want to check out more of her books in the future. Then we have Drink of Choice while reading, and for me it very much depends on what time of day that I'm reading. So if it is during the day on a weekend, I usually have a coffee of some sort as like a little weekend treat. So I will either have a hot coffee or a cold coffee, and it'll either be a caramel or vanilla latte as a hot drink, or a cold version like an iced coffee, again vanilla or caramel iced latte. I make them up myself at home. It's so much cheaper than going to like Costa or Starbucks. And if it is in the evening, then I usually have a cup of tea. I'm really enjoying drinking peppermint tea at the moment. That is kind of my favourite type of tea that I'm having, although I do drink other teas. Peppermint tea is definitely my favourite. Then the next question is e-reader or physical book, and this very much depends. I feel like my mood changes on this, but as of right now, I'm definitely a physical book reader. I read a lot of books on my physically rather than on my Kindle, although I do like my Kindle, and I feel like when I'm not going to work, I do definitely read more on my Kindle, like if I'm on holiday and things like that, or just, you know, at home. One of the main reasons I read a lot physically is because I read on my way to work, and I just don't necessarily feel comfortable taking my Kindle with me, so I carry a physical book with me, because I'm not too worried about if I, you know, obviously I would be quite upset if I left my physical book on the bus, but I'd be devastated if I left my Kindle on the bus, and I have only on one occasion left a physical book on the bus. I was able to get it back, but I don't want to risk that with my Kindle. Next is, now this one I didn't have an answer for, and it's fictional character you'd probably have dated in high school. And I was in high school, or secondary school as we call it. I was extremely shy, so I would not have dated anyone in secondary school. I wouldn't even have talked to anyone. I very much was sit in the corner very quietly, only really spoken if spoken to, and I would try and avoid speaking in class if I could. So I didn't really have an answer for that one, so we'll skip on past that one and move to the next one, which is glad you gave this book a chance. And the one that I picked for this is A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor by Catherine Moon. So this one was very popular a few years ago. When did this one actually come out? 2021. So this came out in 2021, and it was getting a lot of hype. A lot of people were talking about it, a lot of people were raving about it, and I decided to pick it up, and I really enjoyed this one. This is a Why Choose romance. It's a fantasy paranormal romance. We have different supernatural beings, and I really enjoyed this one. I really like the characters. And this was my first Why Choose romance as well that I read, so it was really kind of opened up my eyes to a new trope or a new dynamic that I hadn't read from before, and so I'm really forever grateful that I picked this one up. I have read the other books in this series, but I feel like this first one is definitely the best. So glad to have picked that one up. Then we have a hidden gem book, and this one I feel like is not talked about very much, but that is That Second Chance by Megan Quinn. This is part of the Getting Lucky series, which was a series of 4 books that she wrote. She wrote them with Montlake, or at least the first 3 I think were with Montlake. I think the 4th one wasn't. But this one, again, I love small town romances, and so I picked this up on like a recommendation that I'd seen online looking for small town romances, and this was my introduction to Megan Quinn. I really like her writing, I like her sense of humour, and I think that this one needs to be read more. Out of all of Megan Quinn's books, there are some that are very popular, but this one doesn't get talked about enough, and this series in general doesn't get talked about enough. So yes, I would definitely recommend this one. Then we have important moment in your reading life. And there are a few moments in my reading life that I could talk about, but I think for me, this is the one that stands out in my mind and I want to mention, and that is when I read Christmas in Eternity Springs, by Emily March. Now this is a book within a series called the Eternity Springs series. I can't remember what number it is, but it's very far into the series, and I read this I picked this up from the library, not knowing that it was part of a series, not knowing that it was like very far into the series, and I devoured it. I really loved this one, and this is a small town romance series. Each book follows a different character within the town, and there is kind of, I know, in some of them there's like a plot that kind of follows through throughout the story, and we get to see like different families, and all the characters kind of interconnect, and I love this. I devoured this series. Once I found out that this book was part of a series, I went away and obviously read the rest of the books in the series, and I don't hear anyone talk about this series at all, and this book really set me off on the journey for reading getting into romance. I had obviously always been a reader prior to reading this. I'd read lots of YA series, lots of other things, and this one really sparked my love for the romance genre and really opened up my eyes to other authors like Robin Carr. I picked up Robin Carr after reading this, and this is around this time is when I started watching BookTube as well, because I was looking for series that were similar to this, as in like a small town romance series, and I was watching people's videos, getting recommendations, and so that is why this is very important to me, because I feel like this has made me into the reader that I am today, because it has obviously introduced me to so many new authors, and as I say, the BookTube community as well. I'd been watching YouTube for a long time, but I hadn't really delved into the BookTube world until I read this book. So I will be forever grateful for this book, and I definitely want to reread this series at some point. I've never actually got around to rereading them, so this is a very important book to me. And I do actually own the whole series. They were pretty hard to get hold of here in the UK, and I've not heard anyone talk about this series, so I would definitely recommend that series. Then we have Just Finished, and this one I had, when I wrote my answers, because I kind of planned this video ahead of time, my answer was going to be The Charlie Method by Elle Kennedy, but I have actually since finished another book since then, and that was Ricochet by Krista and Becca Ritchie, and I enjoyed that one. I gave it 4 stars. It's part of the Addicted series and follows Lillian Lowe's story, and it is like a continuation of book 1. And it doesn't the story's not complete, so there is you kind of have to read the whole series to get the complete story. So the next prompt is kind of books that you won't read, and this one I found difficult to think of an answer for, because I feel like I will read pretty much anything. I do try different genres, although I predominantly read romance, I do read other things. I do read mystery thriller, I do read non-fiction, fantasy, horror I've read some of, although I don't read a lot of those genres, I don't necessarily reach for them all the time. They are genres that I do read. The only one that I could really think of that I don't read like very much of and don't really gravitate towards is sci-fi. So I have read some romance, sci-fi romance, like alien books and things like that, but it's not necessarily my preferred genre, and like straight up sci-fi with like no romance I just don't really reach for. I'm not saying I will never ever read it, but it's very rare and not something that I would necessarily choose to pick up. Then we have longest book you've ever read, and this one, I don't read a ton of long books, I will preface by saying. I try and stay clear of long books, although recently, because I've been reading more fantasy, I have been reading some longer books. But the longest one that I've ever read, according to Goodreads, is Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare, which was 893 pages. That one I read quite a long time ago. It's part of the Shadowhunter world. I can't remember the name of the series that is part of, but I did really like that one at the time when I read it. I used to be a huge Cassandra Clare fan. I read the Mortal Instruments series and the Infernal Devices, and I was really obsessed with that series at one point. I haven't read from her for quite some time, and I'm definitely not up to date with her current releases, but I'm not sure if I will read from her again or not, because I kind of not fell out with her, but just kind of fell out with that series because she's written so many books in that world, and I don't know, some of them just started to feel a little bit repetitive. I think she has released a series now that is not in the Shadowhunter world, so I may be interested in checking that one out, but we shall see. And then we've got major book hangover because of, and I couldn't think of an answer for this one. I don't really feel like I get book hangovers. I very much finish a book and then I start a new one. It's very much a, I guess, habit. I feel like I always have a book on the go. I very rarely don't have something that I'm currently reading. I've had reading slumps. I can only think of like 2 major times I've had major reading slumps, and that's not been because of a book that I've read. It's more been because of you know, like life outside of reading. I've just not really felt like reading at that point. So I can't really think of any book that has like made me have a hangover and not wanted to read anything else. Then we have number of bookcases you own. So in my house, I have 6 bookcases. Some of them are like half size, like the one behind me, and some of them are like full size ones. And so I have 6 in my house, and then I do have 2 bookcases at my parents' house as well, that I do really need to go through and sort out. I have books kind of in 2 locations, here in my house and then at my parents' house. I still have a ton of books that I do definitely need to sort through at some point. A lot of them are historical romances and also ones that I read kind of prior to getting into the romance genre, so a lot of young adults things. So as I say, I do at some point want to sort through those, but it's just kind of finding the time. Then we have one book you have read multiple times, and my answer for this one is The Great Gatsby. I have read this so many times. I read this once a year, and I can't remember the first year that I read this, to be honest, but since I've read it, I've made it a mission of mine to kind of read this every single year, and in the past few years I've had the tradition of reading it on New Year's Eve. I don't know why, it's just something that I've been doing for the past few years. I really love this book. It's very short. I like listening to the audiobook that Jake Gyllenhaal narrates, and yeah, this is a classic and it is one that I will forever be rereading. I will say I don't necessarily reread a lot of books, but that is one that I have reread every year without fail for the past, I would say maybe like 6 or 7 years, give or take. Then the next one is preferred places to read. So I really only read in 2 places, and that is on the bus ride to work, which isn't my preferred place to read, because I would be preferring to be staying at home, but that's kind of the main place that I do a lot of reading. And then my preferred place is reading from my bed. I have one of those like reading cushions that you can buy, and I use that, and I love sitting in bed reading my book. That is my preferred place. Quote that inspires you, gives you all the feels. So I found it really difficult to think of an answer for this question because I don't really memorize quotes when I'm reading books. Like in the moment I'll be like, oh, that's quite nice, but I don't necessarily always remember it. But one that when I was looking at quotes, I've highlighted, because you can kind of look on your Kindle and see what you've highlighted in the past. This one really resonated with me, and it's from a classic, and you know, it's a classic for a reason, and it is one of my favourite books as well, so I thought I would mention this one, and it is from Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Again, this is another one that I've read quite a few times, but not as many as The Great Gatsby, because it's obviously quite a bit longer. But the quote that I really like in this one is, "I am no bird and no net ensnares me. I am a free human being with an independent will." And I really resonate with this one. I am very much of the mindset of you should be independent and, you know, you shouldn't rely on anyone to do things for you. I very much like to do things myself, and I do feel that I am a very independent person. So for that reason, that quote really resonates with me, and I wanted to mention it in here. Next we have reading regret, and the reading regret that I have for this one, I don't really regret a lot of books, because at the end of the day, you know, you don't know going into a book that whether you're going to like it or not. You could obviously have a good idea whether you know, might like it, but you can never know. And this one for me, the one that I regret was Best Hex Ever by Nadia El-Fassi. And the reason I regret this one is because I was really excited for this one. It's a witchy romance, which at the time I was really like in the mood for, and the cover for this was really beautiful, and I had the Afterlight edition, and the cover for the Afterlight edition was absolutely stunning, and I regret reading it because I'm so disappointed that I didn't like it, because I couldn't justify keeping that book on my shelf. So I did part ways with it, but I do regret it because if I hadn't read it, then I would have had it on my shelf still, because I hadn't read it. But because I didn't like it, I felt like I had to get rid of it. I don't usually keep books that I don't like unless they're like part of a series, or I've got lots of books by that author. Sometimes I'll keep hold of them, but I had to get rid of that one. Next is series you started and need to finish, and there could be so many answers for this book, this question, because there are a lot of series that I've started that I do want to finish, but I wanted to pick ones where the series is complete, because obviously some series like the Carissa Broadbent series, for example, The Crowns of Nyaxia, I really love that series and I do want to complete it, but the series is not currently complete, so I felt like I couldn't put that one on here because I'm not going to be able to complete it until all the books are out. So the two series that I picked for this answer is the Hathaways series by Lisa Kleypas, which I am currently making my way through, and I should get this finished this year. But this is a historical romance series following the Hathaways family, and I've read the first two books and absolutely love them. And then the other series I have is the Off Campus series by Elle Kennedy, and again, I've read books 1 and 2 in this series and I really enjoyed them. I really like Elle Kennedy's writing, so I definitely want to get this series finished. And the same goes for the Bright You series as well, and the Off Campus Diary series, and any other series that she's written, but the off-campus one is my main target because I have started that one, whereas some of the others I've not started yet. Then is 3 of your all-time favourite books. So I've selected 3 here, and it was really hard to pick like my all-time favourite books because favourites change all the time based on my mood. You know, something I could really like at the moment, but you know, in a few months' time something else might have taken its place. So the 3 that I've selected are ones that I read quite a while ago and have kind of a special place in my heart for different reasons. And some of the other ones I've mentioned on here, like Jane Eyre, is one that I could have included here because I do love that one. Same with Christmas at Eternity Springs, that one holds a special place in my heart. But these 3 are the ones that I wanted to mention. So I have already mentioned one of them. I didn't want to repeat all of my answers, but this one I have to put as my top favourite, and that is The Great Gatsby. Because I have read it so many times, I feel like I have to put it as a favourite because I love this book. I feel like I get something new out of it every time I read it. There are parts that I could kind of almost quote because I've read it so many times. I have multiple editions of this book as well. Yeah. This is definitely a favourite. I know this is a very basic answer, but all of my answers for this question are quite basic. Then this one is like a favourite from kind of my, not childhood per se, but like young teenage years, and that is Twilight. I feel like Twilight is a book that is on a lot of people's list because it started a love of reading. Now, I definitely was reading before Twilight and I did love reading before Twilight, but I feel like Twilight definitely really reignited my love for reading, and since then I've obviously read like a lot of different series. You know, there was a whole period of time where I was reading like all vampire books because Twilight was so popular, and this has a special place in my heart, and I have vivid memories of reading this as well. I actually watched the film before I read the book, and I was obsessed with the film, and then I started reading the books, and I actually got these books like one at a time, which to now is like completely like an alien concept. If I find a series that I want to read, 9 times out of 10 I'll probably get all the books, or at least quite a few of the books in one go. Like, reading one book and then waiting to be able to buy the next one is kind of, you know, when it's a completed series, is kind of crazy. But I do remember like reading one and then having to wait and get my parents to go into town to buy me the next one. Oh, not buy me, I like paid for it, but like they went into town and got it for me. And yeah, I have such strong memories of this series that I had to mention it. And then the other one that I wanted to mention is The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. I feel like the Bridgerton series, although I had read a couple of historical romance prior to the Bridgerton series, I feel like the Bridgerton series holds a special place in my heart because it did introduce me more to the historical romance genre and definitely sparked a love for the genre, because obviously because the TV show was coming out, a lot of people were talking about obviously this series and then also other series, like if you liked Bridgerton you would like this, and I read the series almost like back to back, and this is one of my favourites in the series. I feel like I could have mentioned other books from this series as well because I do like a lot of them, but this one I feel like is one of my favourites. It's Anthony's and Kate's story, and there's some really iconic moments in here that I feel like are very memorable and stuck in my mind. So I love this series and I would definitely recommend it if you have not read it already. Then we have Unapologetic Fangirl, and I would say for this, I am an unapologetic fangirl for Anna Huang's books. So I read Twisted Love quite a while ago now, and I have binged this author's backlist. At the moment I don't have any books that I have not read by her. I've read all of the things that she has published. I love the way she writes heroes. I love all of her heroes. Most of her books have been 5 stars for me. There's been a few that have been 4 stars. I think maybe 1 or 2 from her first series were 3-star reads, but on the whole most of her books has been 4 stars or more, and I just cannot get enough of her writing. I love the way she writes characters, and I would definitely recommend her books if you haven't checked them out yet. Then we have Very Excited for This Release More Than All Others, and for this one I had to mention Fearless by Lauren Roberts. I've mentioned this in so many videos, but I am desperately needing this book to be in my hands. Reckless ended on such a cliffhanger, and I just cannot wait to see what Fearless has in store. It's coming, I think, in a few weeks, which I am really excited for. Then we have Worst Bookish Habit, and for me, my worst bookish habit is not being able to stick to TBRs. I am terrible at sticking to TBRs. I am very good at creating TBRs, but actually sticking to them I find really difficult because I am a mood reader. At the time when I'm creating the TBR, I'm very much in the mood to read those books, but then when it comes to actually reading them, my mood might have changed. I might be wanting to read like more of one subgenre than another, and so I am terrible at sticking to TBRs. I've managed to stick to my January and February TBR, and I am struggling to get to complete my March TBR. We've got 2 days left, well 1.5 I guess, because I'm filming this on the 30th. It's like halfway through the day already, so I have 2 books left to read, and I think it's doable, but I'm not sure if it's going to get done, so we shall see, but I've been doing well for me. Then we have X Marks the Spot, and it's Get the 27th Book Off Your Shelf. So I'm going to use the shelf behind me here to get the 27th book out, and I have already like gone ahead and counted ahead of time, and the 27th book on this shelf, not counting, I didn't count these ones on the top, I actually counted the ones that were like on the shelves, is Holding the Reins by Paisley Hope. This is a cowboy romance which I really loved. I know some people don't love this series as much, but I did really enjoy this one and I would definitely recommend it. The cover is really pretty as well, and I also read Training the Heart, which is book 2 in this series. Definitely would recommend. If you like Elsie Silver's books, I think you would like this series. Then we have last 2 questions. We have your latest book purchase, and for this I have got God Killer by Hannah Kana. I picked this up in the charity shop yesterday and I am really excited to get into this one. The cover for this is absolutely gorgeous, and this is definitely one that I did have on my radar, and when I saw it in the charity shop in like near perfect condition, I just had to pick it up, and it was only £1, and I did get the sequel as well, but I thought I'd just show you the one book. And then the last book I have is Zzzz Snatcher, Last Book That Kept You Up. And I very rarely stay up late to read a book because I know I have work the next day and I do not want to be going into work tired, or more tired than I usually am, so I don't stay up late if I can help it. It's very, very rare that I do. And it has to be a really special book to get me to stay up. But the last book that I remember staying up longer to read, just try and pick it up, is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. This is a massive book, and I devoured it in a couple of days. I was obsessed, and I did stay up a bit later to complete it because I just wanted to find out what was going to happen. And Carissa Broadbent is a new author that I've discovered and I'm obsessed with. I want to read everything that she's written and will be writing. This series is a vampire series and I would definitely recommend it. Don't be intimidated by the length because I found that I flew through this book. I have got her next book from the library, which is The Songbird of the Heart of Stone, which I can't wait to read, and I also have one of her, like the novella, what's that one called, 6 Scorched Roses. I have that one out of the library as well because my reservations came in, and I have Slaying the Vampire Conqueror on hold at the library and that should come in soon, so I'm really excited to read more of her books and definitely recommend them. And that is all I have today for the A to Z book tag. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as I said at the beginning, if you have done this tag, please let me know and I would love to check out your video, and if you've not done this tag then feel free to do this tag and let me know.